Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday here. Happy Halloween. And guys, we've got a fun one for you in today's video. The Scharnhorst 43, available only in crates, so don't develop FOMO there, fear of missing out, and buy 40 crates. This ship is certainly fun, but you are not missing on any true OP secondary brawler that I may clickbait below. But let's go ahead and review our modifications. Secondary, of course, in slot 1, propulsion in 2, as always, concealment in 3, and of course, legendary reload mod there, secondary reload mod in slot 4 there. Let's go ahead and look at our specs / stats here. You've got 65,000 HP to work with, which is kind of middle of the pack for tier 7, but combined with the German armor scheme, you will be all right. 3x3, 283mm guns. Your main guns are not really where it's at, but with a full secondary build here, we can push those secondaries out to 11 kilometers. So having some fun with those in combination with your torpedoes, you are a decent brawler. I'm not going to say that this is better than the Brandenburg or Atlantico, but again, this ship is fun, and I had a lot of fun and felt competent in battle playing it. Something to note about the torpedoes, though, is they have a 45-second reload. So if you can put those in certain situations, that reload comes in handy. 66 overall AA, you're not going to be having a lot of fun against carriers, who does 30 knot top speed with an 800 turning circle and a 14.5 rudder there. 12.7 concealment is actually pretty good. You're kind of that battle cruiser-esque type battleship here, which the Scharnhorst, of course, was in real life. And here is your armor scheme. You do have a giant 26mm nose, which can be overmatched by a good majority of the battleships at the tier and, of course, above, and certain battleships even the tier below. But that 70mm icebreaker there extends pretty much halfway up that section of bow there, so you are relatively protected. Of course, you can be citadeled at very unique angles if they can overmatch that nose and kind of get a plunging mid-range shot there. But if you look at the Citadel, you are rather protected from everything except for mid-range sort of plunging fire with the standard German turtleback there. However, if you look at the other sections of the armor combined with the Citadel there, yeah, you're going to be taking a good amount of chunk damage unless of course, you can angle appropriately, sort of at that 15 to 30 degrees here. However, of course, we know with brawling, it's that fine dance of pushing into the right spot without putting yourself in a crossfire. But that is part of the fun and skill of playing these ships. And of course, here is the overview: ironclad, rapid response, and secondary reach there. Looking at our commander, we are running Azure Lane Bismarck here with her main base trait of unwavering strength. A lot of people go with Brawler, and it's certainly not a bad choice. I just don't like massively decreasing my range, and a good day's work is good to prevent a lot of those fires, which the German ships are a little bit more susceptible to with that large superstructure. Porcupine, of course, Hohlheit there, which increases or decreases the damage incoming when your secondaries are active. Master Mechanic, instead of properly meticulous, again, you can make the argument for either or in this kind of case of brawling. And fight fire with fire, and of course Hipper and Haruna for full secondary inspirations. I actually might switch it to the Brazilian guy. I think he gets a little bit more range, but alas, that is what we were running for this particular game. As I was saying in the beginning of this video, I think the ship is a lot of fun. If you by chance get it out of a crate, it is a great addition to any fleet. However, do not go out of your way to buy a bunch of these crates, as I don't personally think these crates are really overall worth it, and you're essentially gambling whether or not you get the ship. Now, in the video that we did on getting the crates and everyone's drop rate, it seemed to be a pretty high percentage within the first 5 to 8 crates. It seemed to be about a 60 or 70% drop percentage. But please don't go out of your way. I'm sure this will return in the Black Friday or Christmas crates. And again, it's not a ship that is significantly better than the Atlantico or the Brandenburg, or particularly even the Bismarck in certain situations. But alas, let's go ahead and get into the game.
A lot of other tier 7 games. Now, if you get a tier 5 game and the tier 6 regular Scharnhorst, it's not...
Now, truthfully, I have yet to get that YouTube clickbait-worthy 500,000 damage, 8-kill Kraken that I could put up in clickbait and get tens of thousands of views. However, I think this game is a perfect example of how strong this ship can be when you can manage your engagements, when you play your flank, and when you know what you're doing. Far too often, we see German battleship mains slap on a few secondary upgrades, YOLO in the middle of the map, watch their fireworks get off, press the secondary consumable button, and by the time it is run out, they are dead.
This is not good. Alright, does anybody see what's wrong?
And while drawing fire in your direction and distracting the enemy team is advantageous for your own team, you need to last a little bit longer than I do with my fiance. There is a fine line for pushing in a German brawling battleship, and I think this game highlights it rather well. Like I said so many times in the past, it's kind of like approaching somebody at the bar, a girl. You can't go in too aggressive, you get rejected right away, and you certainly can't go in too passive or you will be going home empty-handed, and the same thing goes for this. We're feeling out this situation here over at Alpha, and as you can see, Wargaming in their infinite wisdom has put the carrier and 6 ships over there on the opposite sides of those islands. I don't know why they split up the game like that, but as you can see, our teammates in their infinite wisdom are all going over to Charlie, so we have absolutely no support in that regard. Now, the good news is only 2 ships spawned on our opposite flank, so if we can manage this engagement here, we should be able to easily overpower both of these enemies. That was, of course, until our AL Baltimore decided to shoot broadside there in front of the mines and the Colorado, at which point I decided, okay, I kind of need to just push in here and draw the focus fire away from him while simultaneously getting my secondaries on target. Now, a little side goal of mine throughout this video was to show you guys how to isolate and manage engagements. And what we mean by that is not just blindly push in like we talked about and just, put your ship at risk in order to get your secondaries on target. You want to angle your ship in a way to where you're, obviously not broadside, but you also want to open up the ship, as you guys can see I'm doing here, as that allows more secondaries to get on target. Most of your secondaries, especially on the Scharnhorst and most other ships, are on the side of the ship here. So in order to get them on target, you will have to open up just that little bit of angle. But as we mentioned, you do not want to be completely broadside. Speaking of managing engagements here, I know that a mines with this quarter pen can absolutely rip up a good portion of my secondaries, my superstructure, and set me on fire in the meantime. So I am going to isolate this Colorado here while my Baltimore just sits there as I'm just looking at like, what is this guy doing? I'm spotting for you, sit behind the island and shoot the Colorado, at least until we get him eliminated or out of the picture, if he kites away, and then we can focus on the mines. Sometimes I am befuddled by the decisions that other players make. But regardless, that was there a double fire, and now we have a permanent fire on that Colorado.
They're fucking surely not that accurate.
And to the point that I was kind of making earlier, since we have isolated this engagement here, we have kind of blocked off that mains from, being able to shoot us. We have done nearly 30,000 points of damage and had almost essentially none done to our own boat. At which point I am just looking back at this Baltimore, and unfortunately he's being dropped by the carrier. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and push in here and try to remove any fire that he is receiving in hopes that he could potentially get the cap and damage the mines in some way until we can eliminate this Colorado. Now, knowing that the mines has 2 sets of torpedoes on the side of his boat, I don't really want to get in a torpedo jousting session with him. So if we can draw him out in the hopes that he can get his torpedoes on, then that is going to be what we want to do in this situation. Also, while the AP is certainly good on this boat, in this situation, you're going to want to be shooting HE. When you're setting the fires on that Colorado, just keeping the HE loaded so that way if you get another fire, he puts it out, your secondaries can start that fire, or vice versa. That being said, if an enemy shows you broadside, absolutely switch to the AP, and that is exactly what we just did in this situation. This York wants to test out how well his armor works against my AP, and well, I am happy to oblige. And once again, I want to note, with some simple maneuvering and paying attention to our positioning, we have nearly eliminated that Colorado while simultaneously only taking about 10,000 points worth of damage, and we still have 5 heals yet to go. But notice how we didn't just blindly push in to that mines. We are kind of allowing him to come to us, allowing the enemy player to make the mistake. That being said, we are also simultaneously being dropped by a carrier, having our secondaries go off on that Colorado, defending the cap against the York, paying attention to the mines, and once again being dropped by the carrier. So essentially what is a 4-on-1, because our Baltimore, if you didn't notice, was already dead. But with the fire going off on that Colorado and a fire on the York there, we now have the double strike and 2 enemies eliminated. with very minimal damage to our ship. We don't really have time to think about it, however, as we do know that this mines is coming around the corner, and knowing that he has 6-kilometer torpedoes, he's probably going to try and torp us. So we're keeping the AP loaded because he's probably going to be showing that angle, while still also simultaneously kiting away from him, as, you know, kiting away will not necessarily allow his torpedoes to get on target. So we get a beautiful broadside shot. We launch our torpedoes, not on the white line. Why? Because we know that he is probably turning in to get the opposite side of torpedoes off. Mentioning that he just dropped his torpedoes, or probably is dropping them, and there they are, we're going to go ahead and turn out of that while aiming at the superstructure and guns of his ship while connecting a torpedo of our own. Aaron hit torpedoes, let's go! But with the connection of that torpedo and that salvo on his mid belt there, we have essentially eliminated all of his health and managed what is ideally a 4-on-1 engagement while not giving up the cap. And if you actually look over at the opposite flank there, our team is finally pushing through the center. So a perfect little lesson there, as we do get the elimination for 3 kills, a 3 or 4-on-1 depending on how you want to manage it, but with 19 planes shot down, 3 eliminations, a defend, 175 secondary hits there, we still have over half of our health. And of course, those were not, you know, all-star, the Harlem Globetrotters there, probably more to the Washington Generals aspect, but a perfect example of how to mitigate damage, you know, isolate your engagements, and how to essentially perfectly brawl while utilizing the strengths of your ship and trying to minimize the weaknesses.
All right.
But that is going to do it for this video. There's no action left. Our team manages to get the 7-on-5 over there and get a quality victory for the stream here. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. And again, I just kind of wanted to put it out, that little educational one, while also showing you a good little first look at the Scharnhorst here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys prefer these videos? The videos yesterday weren't doing too well, but again, that's YouTube for you guys. So this ship is certainly fun. Again, don't go out of your way to spend thousands of dollars on crates trying to get this thing. The Brandenburg, the Atlantico, the Bismarck, the Tirpitz, a lot of those ships are equally good, if not better. But if you do manage to get this ship, she is certainly a fun battle brawling cruiser type battleship here. That was a lot of B's. So, but that is going to do it for this one. Like, you know, comment, subscribe, all that YouTuber fancy bullshit there. Some more B's. But you guys have a great day. Happy Halloween. I'll see you. I'm out. Peace.